Alright! Now let's hope that this audio actually works. Because I got my head in the frame, I can't tell it's big enough. What's up, oh my god! What's up, guys? Truman here, welcome back to another video. I'm not cold, it's just my hands, because I left without gloves, because I'm a Londoner. And Londoners are really bad at adjusting to sudden changes of weather. So, like, we'll go out when it's really warm, when the summer starts, but then we'll like forget the right clothing, and so we end up having to take off a whole load of clothing, and then not the opposite. But this is my favorite time of year. I don't know, like something about snow is really peaceful. Like there's like an air of calm. Do you know what I mean? It's like maybe if you've been living in a snowy area, you know, regularly, you kind of get used to it. But when the snow sets, it's like there's a stillness in the air that's almost magical. And I know that this is probably my younger self flashing back to when I used to watch that Snowman movie over and over and over again. But I like it. Anyway, so today, before I freeze to death, I am going to be covering two topics that I believe... Oh, it's currently NoFap day 10 or 11. But today I'm going to be covering a topic that is really relevant to something that has happened to me recently. And it involves what happens when you are lonely and what you should do about it. Because there are a lot of mistakes that a lot of young men make. And this is specifically talking to me back in the day before I had the kind of circle of people around me that I did before. Because men, I believe, young men, make a very, very big mistake when they're lonely, is that they will think that a woman will somehow solve that loneliness. And what I realized is that whenever you go into any sort of a relationship or like if you're just trying to talk to a girl and you come at it from a place of, I want you to fill this hole within me, immediately the whole interaction shifts to the point where she becomes the prize, and you're almost doing everything you can to try and make sure that she doesn't leave and this, that, and the other. You basically become needy. And I don't need to remind you guys just how pathetic and pointless being needy is. So anyway, there are a lot of judo flips that I've had to learn about how almost everything is backwards, and how when you actually like reverse everything, like things seem to actually make sense. And when it comes to women, it's literally everything that I knew had to be reversed. If you build it, they will come. They don't come just because you're you and, you know, whatever, and they should just do this and that. Oh, they don't like nice guys, actually. When you want them, they want you less. And it's like everything is upside down. But the one mistake that let me give you an example. We all have an example of a friend or a coworker or someone that we know that was close to us that disappeared, that was kind of like isolated, kind of like a friend on the fringe, and they had some friends, or maybe they weren't. But the moment they get a girlfriend or find a woman or whatever, they disappear. They get rid of all their social life. They don't go to clubs. They don't go to the pub anymore. They don't hang out. They don't play D&D, whatever the hell people do. I'd love to do D&D if I had the time. And they just disappear. And it's almost always the people that kind of were on a needy basis anyway. I can think of two examples, both of those people, and myself, of course, as well. I would literally sacrifice my friends to be able to chase pussy, essentially. And all that really did was make it so that I neglected all the things in my life that actually made me the kind of man that would want to attract a woman. Now, this isn't about wanting to attract a woman. This is about if you feel alone and lonely and you want to improve your social skills and this, that, and the other, you need bros, I'm not going to say it. You know what I mean, not H. You need bros. And that's a mistake that I believe a lot of young men make, because they're not really taught just the sheer importance of deep social connections, not only to keep the social gear lubricated, but also just to boost your confidence in general. Because when you isolate yourself, and especially if you isolate yourself in certain online communities whereby they sort of drill some stuff into your head about women and life and this, that, and the other, you can get this really skewed view on life to the point where you end up becoming essentially black-pilled. Like, you end up becoming so supremely nihilistic about women, let's just use women as an example, that you end up basically sabotaging any and all attempts at that you may have to improve your relations with them, if you want to improve them. Now, I know that I used to go into the whole MGTOW thing, so I realized quite a while ago that a lot of the red pill stuff, for example, you can sort of get into this like doomer mentality whereby it's red pill and black pill blend together, unfortunately too often. And if you're binge watching content videos from content creators like Sandman, for example, you can sort of get this idea that all women are essentially evil and that you should avoid them at all costs. And what I realize is that, one, that's impossible, almost impossible, unless you choose to, in which case it can be difficult, and if you have a lifestyle around that and it's working for you, fine, that's absolutely fine. But there's still the other half of the species. And so the pill that I'm on is the kind of red pill where it's like you want to learn how to improve yourself to the point where you don't fall into the pitfalls. Red pill for me was flipping all of the erroneous assumptions that I had and then formulating a strategy based on those things. Like, for example, not to be too needy, going back to what I said before. And finding your purpose and pursuing your purpose is what attracts them. But not to do it just for the women. When we really lock into our purpose, that's when we kind of create this almost auric field around us that attracts them. And the mistake that people make is they think that if I feel a hole in my life, I need a woman to fill it. Now, before anyone asks that question, they have to ask themselves, I believe, do you have a circle of bros that you respect, that you get along with, and that are mutually bringing you up? Because there's no point surrounding yourself with friends who are all also watching Sandman's videos. It sounds like I'm picking on Sandman, but let me just say, a lot of his content, he is now recently, from what I've seen, and I haven't seen many of his videos recently, but the ones I've seen recently and some of his interviews that he's been on, he's actually talking about how now finally that it's you have to adapt. Whereas before, the early stuff, it very much seemed like women are just evil. But you kind of have to read his videos and think, this is their nature. Like, this is just the way that they are. That you don't fight, you don't hate the game, you don't hate the player. It's just the game, and it's the game that everyone's in because you're in the same game. So if you hate the game, you hate yourself, and it's silly. But without that circle of friends, without that circle of bros, you will become needy. You may find a codependent relationship, and I say this often: a woman will like you and want to be with you for the man that you are. Will spend the whole relationship trying to change you into a man that you're not, and then will leave you for a man who was essentially the same as you were when she first met you. I got that from Dante Nero, and I'm telling you, it's mind-blowing. But don't put it on social media, because all the women come out and say the same freaking things about how, oh, who hurt you? Literally, they all say, women are just as predictable as men. They say the same things, they do the same actions, and it's mind-blowing how there's this idea that they're complicated. Anyway, if you taken away from your social circle, when that need is filled, will change you and put you into a beta mindset. It will put you into a submissive mindset. And since you slowly drifted away from all the things that made you a man, or at least made you more masculine, eventually you're going to come to a point where she's chipped away at you slowly but surely, and eventually she leaves you because you're essentially a doormat. You're essentially like a yappy dog, essentially. And I saw all of this in myself, by the way, so, you know, this has happened to me many times. The moment I hook into this idea that some woman can solve something within me, the whole thing is gone. The whole thing is gone. I've always wanted to maintain a level of physical and mental independence to the point where I've always wanted to be able to walk away from anything, to be able to say, right, I'm done. Like, I'm done. Like, I don't want to have to do this thing, and I'm just going to leave this thing. And it's been a mission of mine to really gain that independence, because I've seen so many men who aren't whole. Like, essentially, they need someone else to fill them. And I find that it's like that heart. I'm not sure if I said this before. It's like the heart symbol that everyone knows. The whole point, that you break apart and you have two hearts, and the whole thing is you have two hearts combined together to make one heart. And so you think, oh, I need to find someone who's that other piece. But the thing is that means that without you, I'm essentially broken. That without you, I'm essentially a flawed being. Now, I'm not saying to avoid relationships entirely. I'm saying to maintain the frame and maintain the level of mental independence into and throughout that relationship, so that it doesn't turn you into this beta cuck, essentially. Bros, you need bros. You need to make sure that the friend circle is maintained. You need to make sure that it doesn't even have to be friends. Just going into like a men's group or something. Men need men. Men need other men. Trouble. Anyway, that's what I'm going to say for today, guys. For now, peace.